Okay, with our source code under a Git repository, now we can use Heroku CLI to deploy our application. So here in the terminal, in the project folder, let's run Heroku create. This command does two things. First, it creates an application in Heroku. You're going to see that in a second. And second, it creates a Git remote in our local Git environment. Now, in case you're not familiar with Git, Git is a distributed source control management system. So here we have a Git repository in this folder, but we can have another Git repository somewhere else. In this case, we're going to have a Git repository in Heroku. Now, every time we modify our code and commit the changes to our repository, these changes, the updated source code, are in our local Git repository. Later, we can push our changes from this local repository to a different repository, like the one we have in Heroku, and then Heroku will automatically download the latest code from that repository and install our application. We're going to see that in a minute. So let's go ahead and run Heroku create. And by the way, here you can supply an application name, like Vidly, but this name has to be unique. So if you run this, you're going to see that Vidly is taken. So I'm going to run this command without an application name. All right, so look, Heroku created an application called nameless coast 29955. On your machine, this is going to be different. And this is the address of our application on Heroku. So the same name, .herokuapp.com. And next to that, you can see the address of the remote Git repository. That is git.heroku.com / the name of our application .git. Now in this folder, if you run git remote -v, you can see the list of remote repositories. So you can see we have a remote called Heroku, and this is the address of that Git repository. Okay, now we can deploy our application with one command: git push Heroku master. What does this mean? Git push means we're going to push our changes from our local repository to a different repository. That repository is this Heroku. And finally, master is the name of the branch that we're currently working on. That's an advanced Git topic, so don't worry about it. But by default, every Git repository has a master branch where we have the latest source code. So let's go ahead and run this command. All right, now you can see Heroku is installing binaries. In this case, the engine that we specified, that's Node version 8.9.1. After that, it's installing our dependencies. Look, Node modules. And finally, you can see our application is deployed to Heroku. So copy this address and then open up Postman. Paste the address here. So let's send a GET request to /API/genres. Send. All right, we got an error. 503 service unavailable. I deliberately wanted you to see this error because that's something that you have to deal with from time to time. So in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to look at logs to see what is wrong and how to fix the problem.